Okay, so this is the before picture. Some stakes in the ground, a bunch of snow and dirt, and not much else. But in a few months, the after picture should look quite a bit different. Over the next several months, a pole barn will begin to rise out of this land, and I'll be documenting the entire process in this YouTube series. Now you might be wondering, why am I building a pole barn? Well, the answer is rodents. I live on a mountain surrounded by acres and acres of forest, which is beautiful, but it also means I'm sharing my property with an endless supply of mice, squirrels, and other critters that have very little respect for boundaries. And I own an RV camper van. It's a big investment, and it's been parked outside. Sun, snow, rain, falling branches, that's one thing. But if you leave a warm and cozy van in the middle of a forest, eventually nature will try to move into it. The first real warning shot came from a mouse that decided to live under the hood. In less than a day, it tore up insulation and chewed through the power steering wire, disabling the van and turning into hundreds of dollars in repairs. That's when I learned that a van is not a sealed box. It's basically a collection of very accessible, very snackable materials. I think I solved that particular problem by leaving a light strip on under the hood and lighting up the van with landscape lights. So now, at night, it's illuminated like Times Square, hopefully making it less appealing as a cozy mouse apartment. But then came the next chapter. If mice were the pawns in nature's battle against my van, the next wave of attackers were seasoned commandos, smarter, bolder, and far more capable saboteurs. Unbeknownst to me, a squirrel started nibbling on the high-pressure propane hose underneath the van. I didn't discover this at home. I discovered it on the first night of a month-long road trip. At the very first campground, I flipped on the propane switch, and a huge amount of propane came blasting out from a punctured hose under the van, which is a very exciting way to begin a trip. And then the van exploded. No, just kidding. Thankfully, it did not explode in my face, but I did get to spend the next month without propane. No heat, no generator, no warm showers. When I got home, I tried to figure out how to protect the van from squirrels that had clearly developed a taste for expensive rubber hoses. I tried the classic wrap-it-up approach, chicken wire, tarp, making the whole thing look like I was smuggling a spaceship. It was annoying, time-consuming, it looked ridiculous, and the squirrels chewed through it anyway. That was a useful moment of clarity. I'm not going to win a war against mountain rodents on their own battlefield. I needed to get the van inside a protected space, away from the elements and away from the local wildlife. Now, my house does have an existing garage, but the van doesn't fit in it. And expanding that garage wasn't really an option because, well, it sits right next to a stream. But I've got enough land to build another structure. And that's when I came across pole barns. It's funny how something can be practically invisible until it becomes relevant to you. Once I started researching pole barns, suddenly I saw them everywhere, along country roads, behind houses, and on farms. So what exactly is a pole barn? At its simplest, it's a building supported by a series of large vertical posts anchored into the ground, rather than relying on the continuous foundation and load-bearing walls you'd find in more traditional construction. Those posts support the structure, creating a large, mostly unobstructed space inside. It's a relatively simple concept, but it comes with some big advantages. Pole barns can be constructed fairly quickly, they're extremely flexible in size and layout, and they can provide a lot of usable space at a lower cost per square foot than more traditional construction. And because so much of that interior can remain wide open, you can configure it however you want, and change it later as your needs evolve. And that got me thinking, if I was going to build this much space just to protect the van, why stop there? For example, my home gym is currently in the upper level of my unconditioned, uninsulated garage. In the winter, it drops well below freezing. In the summer, it hits 100 degrees Fahrenheit by mid-morning. And then there's hobby space. My house has no basement and not much extra room, so I've never really had a place where I could spread out. With a pole barn, I could have space for photography, a video studio, art projects, and plenty of room to expand into new hobbies in the future. So pole barns seemed like the perfect solution. And that's where the next set of questions started. How big should it be? Where should it go? How tall should it be? How many garage doors do I need and how big should those be? Should I insulate it? Should I heat it? Should I air condition it? What kind of roof should it have? What kind of siding? How many windows? Should I add a finished room? What about a mezzanine? Do I want a porch? How much electrical service do I need? Where does everything go? What am I forgetting? And perhaps most importantly, how much is all of this going to cost? It turns out a pole barn may be a relatively simple structure, but building one involves making hundreds of decisions. And those decisions ended up shaping the entire project, which is where we'll pick things up in the next episode. So, for now, this snowy patch of ground is the starting line. And with luck, by the time I reach the finish line, my van will no longer be a rodent buffet, my home gym will no longer be an experiment in thermodynamics, and I'll have space to support hobbies for years to come. Please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates and for videos about my adventures at home and around the world.